Happy, what is it, Thursday? Happy Thursday, everybody. Um, if you're on here, hit that like button. What's going on, Eugene? What's going on? Long time no see. Good to see all of you guys. Happy, what is it, 2023? Year 2023. I know it's been a while since I've been live. Also, shout out to all of you guys who've been rocking with me for some support. Now, as always, if you're here, hit the like button, share, support, pass this on. We're going to be having, I think, a well overdue but needed discussion just about Black hair and not only what's been going on, how that's impacting women today, how that's impacting Black women today, what this means as far as their self-esteem. So I'm excited to get into it. But before I do, y'all, like I said, on the way here, hit the like button. Also, as always, show support to your favorite content creators. You can find me on Cash App or Venmo Shay Charday. Be sure to support those who are, championing the message that you guys have. What's going on? Thank you guys. So I'm just okay. So I do have a special guest coming on a little bit later on today. And the whole reason this conversation even got started was I posted something. I think maybe like a couple of weeks ago where I was just like, look, y'all, I'm just tired of wigs. Like, I think I just started getting tons and tons of advertisements on my personal YouTube page and my algorithm TikTok. I just kept on seeing ads of weaves and installments, and I wasn't getting a lot of stuff about natural hair. You guys know that I'm all a supporter of natural hair. I just love seeing women embrace what God gave them. So I think out of this frustration, I just posted, man, like, I'm just tired of weaves. Like, I'm tired of getting all this advertisement. And some of y'all agreed. And there are also a lot of people who had a pushback, felt offended, felt like I was being judgmental, felt like I was being a little bit discriminatory. And so I got some feedback and I was like, okay, look, you know what? Before I talk about this more, since I've gotten so much feedback, since I've gotten so much, back and forth, I think this warrants a larger discussion, but I wanted to do my own research before I brought this to you. So I read a book, I think I posted about it on the community tab, where it's pretty much a chronological, like just a whole, I guess, history on Black hair and what it's meant, especially for African Americans, and how it has shaped them socially, politically, economically. It was quite interesting. So I'm going to get into that a little bit later on, but I wanted to give you guys a backdrop. It looks like I do have the special guest in the background. I'm going to try to bring her on in a moment. Let me see. What's going on, Better You? Good to see you. Good to see you. Okay, so I'm going to bring on my special guest, and actually, looks like she's still. One second. Looks like she's still getting things set up in the back. Y'all bear with me. And also, so I'm excited. My special guest, Bella Riggs. If you haven't had a chance to check her out, she's a lovely fellow Black woman. Married, has a kid, has beautiful natural hair, and she started her own natural hair journey. Yay! Okay, looks like we got her cammed up. Looks like we got you cammed up. Okay, can I hear you? Now the question is, can I hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Okay,
woo, we got it. Sorry for being tardy, everyone.
It's okay. It's all good. That's where it's at. So thank you for being here. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. I was explaining to the audience earlier, I did a post a couple of weeks back, and just out of frustration, out of continuing to be bombarded with like wigs and weaves ads, and just honestly what I see when I go out, and what I see as far as anytime I see Black women associated with luxury or good lifestyle, 9 times out of 10, they don't have their natural hair. So I just was like, man, I'm tired of wigs. And I got a lot of people who were mad and like, this is judgmental, this is discriminatory, women should just be able to express themselves. And then, I had some people who were like, oh, well, your hair, you have good hair, or your hair isn't like this kind of hair. So you don't have the right really to say this because you don't know what it's like to have kinkier hair, which I'm just like, first of all, I'm Black. Okay. So I don't, this whole, what did they call it? Wash and go hair. Even if I so-called wash and go hair, if I don't do anything with it, like it's going to mat up. It's going to have the same kind of difficulty experience that all Black hair has. So there is no illusion to me of like good hair where you just roll to bed and it's just not, you don't have to deal with it. Anyways, I got people who are mad. So I wanted to bring you on first off because I know you talked about starting your own natural hair journey and you have a different hair texture. I think you said you have 4C hair, which many would argue would be the hardest, toughest to deal with. You have fine hair. And so I didn't want to come from my supposedly privileged perspective and come off as if I was like judging people for their hair. But I think this is a conversation that needs to be had because so often when we talk about, especially Black women or just when we're talking about beauty and we're talking about hair, like it can become a very emotional thing because it really is. So that's the backstory. Before we get into it, would you like to introduce yourself to the lovely audience and just let them know about who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff?
Yes, absolutely. Well, hold on. We don't want feedback. Is there an echo? Okay, great.
I think you're good.
Okay, good. Okay, well, hello, everyone. Good evening. I am Bella. I actually have 4A-ish hair, but I have an interesting story behind that, Sade, that no one knows. So I think that'll be a little exciting to hear. But again, I am Bella. My government name is Jayla. You can also call me Jay. But again, online, I am Bella. I am 26 years old. I am happily married with a almost 7-month-old son. Okay. And I have been natural for a little over 3 years and locked for about 3 months. So yeah.
Oh, you are newly in the locked game.
I am.
It looks beautiful on you. What made you decide to want to get the locks? Was it the baby? Was it the upkeep?
Yeah, it was like a combination of all of those things, Sade. Just upkeep and with, of course, this texture. I do have fine hair, but it is thick and it was about down here. And so I had a lot of the hair. So when I had my son, and then I wore my braids for about 8 weeks or 10 weeks, and I was terrified to take them out. And I was contemplating on getting more braids, spending that $300 again, or locking my hair. My husband was really giving me the idea. He's like, hey, it would be really pretty on you. And I'm just like, I don't know. But eventually I warmed up to it, looked into it. And then ultimately, of course, the upkeep, I can use minimal product. And I just think locks are beautiful. And then just me learning more about this, it makes me appreciate my hair even more.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you on. Again, guys, hit that like button on the way. Shout out to all of you guys for being here. And if we have enough time, and if you're open to it, Bella, I'd love to have a call in and get some people to weigh in on this topic because I think it's one of those that needs to be addressed, or at the very least, there can be a platform where we can talk about it and people not feel judged, but express their experience with it. So also shout out to you, Hakeem, for the 750 coming through as always. So supporting the show, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo today. Also, be sure to check out Bella Riggs. She has a really great channel going on, and we need to support more of these lovely women out here who are pushing back against the Fatiana culture and the fearful culture that has become synonymous with Black women. Because I tell you, the amount of negativity I see going on, especially associated with the Black female image, is quite disgusting. So if y'all see somebody who's doing things right, be sure to support them, please, and be sure to big them up, and be sure that you get their message out there, because at the end of the day, especially you Black women and Black men, whether or not you are SYC and grabbing a passport or going abroad, you are somehow in shape or form still going to be associated with a Black woman. It is what it is. So there's no way you can't get away from that. So that's why I think it's really important to support those who are doing something, positive and just trying to put an alternate message out there. But anyways, okay, so we're gonna do a little quick history lesson just to kind of give some context before we get into this conversation, because like I said, I don't want to just come with just my opinion or just come off as judgmental. I wanted to come with the facts so that y'all can have an understanding of how hair has actually impacted Black people, more specifically Black women, and where we are really at today. So let me try to bring up this presentation real quick. Give y'all a little history lesson real quick. Okay, so you already know hair, really at the end of the day, hair has always been really important to Black people. And, before slavery happened, pre-colonial Africa, hair, it was a big aspect of society. It reflected where people were in society. Women took great pride. They took great pride in showing off their hair. Um, and, they would spend days, hours, sometimes even days, just on a regularly basis, just maintaining their hair. Hair was considered to contain the spirit of individual. It was considered to be one of the closest things to God. Again, we're talking primarily West Africa, or different nations of West Africa, their ideas of hair. And in different nations, there was a specific characteristic that was literally assigned to the family. And it was, it was kind of like having a family doctor. Like this was like a lifelong bond. And popular styles primarily consisted of different braids, different braided styles, updos, very, very, very ornate things of that nature. And again, it was something that women took a lot of pride in, and many societies created space for women to maintain their hair. So it was something that was of great importance. And this whole idea of texturism, good hair, bad hair, it didn't really exist. Now, of course, Africa, what people don't know, has like some of the widest genetic variation. There is this misconception that to be 100% pure African person, you have to be like as dark as night and have like the kinkiest hair out there. And no, Africa actually legitimately has created different like genetic variations outside of the different European influence that's gone on. So you had Black women who were African who had kinky hair. He had some who had looser textured hair, but it was more really about the braids and how they were able to grow it long or thick, or just make sure it was healthy. So that was a huge level of importance. Now, when slavery happened and Black women were, put in chains, all that kind of stuff, one of the first things they did was shave their hair. And from an African perspective, that was kind of like, it was like a loss of identity, because if you take away a woman's hair, you are in essence taking away her spirit. You are in essence taking away her sense of identity, because I mentioned before, hair in some of these nations was directly connected with where they were at, as far as their station, whether or not they were married, where they were at politically, where they ranked, their wealth. So to take that person's hair away, it was considered not only a loss of identity, but it was like a deep spiritual attack to them, because hair was considered to be very spiritual. So that was one of the first things they did when Black people went into slavery. Black women, they shaved their hair. So of course, this caused loss of identity. And then, these African women who came in with their own practices and how they braided their hair, they had their own different methods that they used, their different oils, their different natural treatments. They came into a different nation and they don't have that anymore. And so not only do they not have their, access to the products they did for their hair anymore, now if they did grow hair, the hair was starting to be called bad hair. It was starting to be berated because it didn't reflect the hair of the people in charge, the white people at the time. And then, certain hairstyles started to be considered savage. The hairstyles that started to emulate more things closely related to Africa were considered savage. So again, I want you to keep in mind, here's the people who take great pride in the hair, and then they come into the situation, and all of a sudden, everything that they know was told it was bad. You're told this is bad. This is a bad hair. This is bad texture. Bad hair. That idea of a bad texture didn't exist in Africa, because, like I said, it was all different gradations of kinky, but that didn't exist. It wasn't until we came to the States that concept started. And then around this time, because Africans did not really have, Black people here didn't have really access to good nutrition. Many of them didn't have access to what they were able to do back at home. They tried to make do, but scalp diseases were really popular. Lice, just different hair issues were a problem, because slaves just did not have access to good nutrition, amongst many other things. This is where head wraps started coming. You started to see scarves and stuff, and you see old pictures of slaves that have scarves in their head. It's largely because of that, because they started balding. They started losing their hair. They lost access to the things that were able to keep their hair long and strong. So this is, when I say hair trauma, that's what happened. Now, and again, the politics, right, of Black folks, you got the plantation and the household miscegenation, which was the different mixing that happened between the slave masters and the slaves, started to produce more lighter skinned people that started to have more features that were considered European, Eurocentric. Now, as we know, those lighter skinned people, many of them were able to work in the house. They had closer access to to white people, and they also a lot of times got more access to just better things, more access to better food. Some of them had access to certain kinds of education. Some of them were even freed after their masters left. They were oftentimes sold at a higher price than the darker skinned slaves that had the kinky hair. And so all this was going on is how the lighter skinned people with looser texture hair started getting more privileges from white people. And then the darker skinned people that had the kinky hair, of course, were continuing to be called savage, and their hair texture and their hairstyles were continuing to become savage. So this created yet a greater rift. And around this time too, you'll start to see wigs were primarily worn by white people, especially men. But around this time in this period, you will see that there are some Black women who started to wear wigs because, again, over generations of hearing this message that like, okay, you're bad. And if you see people with better hair getting better treatment, you're going to internalize that. So this is around the time that wigs it wasn't huge, but it was somewhat in the subconscious of Black people. Now, post-slavery, okay, now this was, after slave people were free and supposedly had rights to everything, this brainwashing had already been going on now for a couple of 100 years at this point. And so although Black people were free, they had to try to find ways to get along in society. And so what happened is, as Black people, especially darker skinned people, were going into society, they were finding out that that they were getting discriminated against because of their hair. They were getting discriminated against because of their skin texture. And so what happened was they started to have to try to create a beauty standard that was going to help them survive. And that beauty standard, lo and behold, here's a lovely actress, Lena Horne, who was very popular in her day and age. That beauty standard was generally associated with the lighter skinned, quote unquote, house field, or the house Negro, the one that was given access to better things and oftentimes had more wealth as a result. And so again, this light skin versus dark skin, this elite versus the poor, this is where it continued. And really what we find, as I was reading through different books and different things like that, what we find is that at the end of the day, Black women started to, all the braided, beautiful styles that they had in Africa, they basically went away because they needed to survive. And they started to take on and started to seek for more hair that looked straight, that looked more like it was going to give them access to a better life. And this continued. There was this whole idea of the new Negro, which created around the 1900s, right? Which was about this idea, okay, let's reinvent the image of the Negro. Let's tell them that we can be sophisticated. Let's tell them that we too can have class. And again, this is the image of the new Negro that you're getting: a lighter skinned woman with straighter hair, with have more European centric features. That's what's going on. And so this happened really up until for quite a long time. And then we had obviously Madam C.J. Walker, Annie Malone. These are different women who were very much pioneers of their day as far as creating Black hair products that would help Black women. But the whole idea was helping Black women get hair that looked less Negro, for lack of a better term, that looked less Black, because they were selling a lifestyle. It wasn't just about having a beauty standard. It was about, if we can make our hair look a little bit more European, then we actually may get that job. We may look a little less frightening to this person. And so this was happening way up until the 50s. And any products that prior to that point were all based upon this way of how can we get Black women to assimilate so that they can survive in this very, very hostile environment. That's what's going on. Now the 60s, this was the first time, the Black Men Proud, this is the first time we really started to see Black people fight back against those standards and say, you know what, I am happy with my hair. And of course, there was a lot of things going on. Obviously, the civil rights era, there was the war, there was feminism, there was so much going on. You had, even in Africa, you had different people waging war for freedom. And so there was so much going on. And so there was very much this resurgence or this, I wouldn't say resurgence. This was like the first time you started to see Black people say, I'm actually happy with my kinky hair. And it became a fad. And at that time, you even started to have some people who were saying that like there were some lighter skinned people who considered to have good hair that said, oh my gosh, I'm getting discriminated against because my hair isn't kinky enough. So that happened for a little bit. But towards the end of the 60s, getting into the 70s, the Afro, which at one point was very much a symbol of political, really political freedom. Black people saying, look, we don't need to assimilate to these white beauty standards to be beautiful. We are beautiful the way we are. And along with that, there was a different fight to try to get Black people access to better things, to more opportunities. Towards the end of the 60s, after different civil rights leaders were killed, after some of them were imprisoned and some of them were, exiled and different things like that, at the end of the day, the way it was used politically, it started to become a little bit more mainstream. You started to have white people take it on in the 70s. You started to see people like Barbra Streisand have an afro. And so whereas it was once associated with Black empowerment, it started to become a little bit more mainstream. And also by that time, there was different governmental funding that was taken away that basically meant that Black people who were very, very deeply involved in this, many of them had to kind of go now into the real world and try to find a job. And what do they find out going into corporate, going into those white spaces that they fought to get access to? That this Afro wasn't necessarily going to give them the opportunities that they wanted. Now we get into the 80s and the 90s, right? Where hair is now, from a Black standpoint, it is not as political as it was before, right? There's this emphasis on self-expression, freedom of individual expression. You have the hip hop culture, which really takes off. You have different hairstyles. You have the Jerry curl that's really, doing its thing. You also have weaves, which are starting to become more prominent. You have Oprah, who I think literally on one of her shows basically called out actors or actresses who had weaves. And this was the first time this conversation about weaves started to kind of get in the mindset of the average everyday woman. And how, oh, wow, these supermodels are wearing weaves. And so I think then the seed was planted that like, okay, well, they're wearing weaves and they look this good. And you'll start to see early into the 90s that weaves start to become not only more popular, but previously weaves had a bad connotation. By the 90s, after Oprah and different things like that, the negative association with weaves kind of went away. You started seeing more people talking about it. You started seeing more people talking about it openly. And this was all started happening in the 90s. Now, also important thing to note is that despite all of this, despite the fact that there is this whole emphasis on individuality, also here you'll see dreadlocks. Sorry, meant to mention that dreadlocks also really came in, or just locks in general, because of the different emphasis from the Rastafarian movement, things like that. But what you'll see in reference to all this 80s and 90s, as Black people are trying to get more individualistic and try different things for their hair, as they're going into mainstream white culture, they're getting discriminated against. There is tons and tons of cases against the 80s and the 90s where Black woman goes to work, she's sent home. Black woman goes to work, she's laid off. Black woman goes to work. So you'll see tons and tons of cases happening throughout the 80s and 90s as women are trying different styles, trying braids, doing these different cuts or whatever, perms, doing all kinds of different stuff. At the end of the day, when they go to work, they're getting discriminated against, primarily for their hair. Now you go into the 2000s, natural hair movement. This is, again, somewhat, I would feel like it's somewhat of a resurgence, I feel like, of the 60s, where you see women taking on their natural hair. But it's not just the afro. You see these beautiful curls over here. You start to see different products, the Carol's Daughters, the Jane Carters of the world. You see those different things really research. And then with the advent of social media, you start to see different people who have YouTube channels and who are talking about their experience with natural hair, what that means to them. And so this really started into the 2000s, and I think very much is going on today. With that, however, you will also see that weaves were continuing in its popularity. And in the book that I read, it said, despite the fact that, the natural hair movement, and now we have more products that are dedicated to natural hair, dedicated to different textures of hair, still more than 70% of Black women were still choosing to chemically straighten their hair. And they were doing that over wearing their natural hair. So even though we were seeing a resurgence and we were seeing this movement of women embracing their hair, yet and still chemically straightening your hair that's it. Like that still reigned supreme. And another one says it's estimated that 50 to 60% of weave customers have natural hair under their weaves. And so some of them are moving away from relaxers or moving away from, you know, those chemicals to try to permanently straighten their hair. But then they're just putting a weave over it or they're putting a wig over it. So this is very much where we're at today. We have this natural hair movement, which is a thing, but we have this huge industry that's profiting off of wigs, weaves, and essentially a different market to try to have Black women have their hair look straight. Now, why is this? Primarily, I think it goes back to this, and it goes back to this, and it goes back to this. You have to remember that we're talking about these things like it's so far away, but you're talking in the 90s, in the 2000s even. And, you know, this year, a couple of years ago, you're still seeing stories of Black women being discriminated against because of their hair, even Black men. And so when we have this conversation, sometimes I'll hear, oh, we're just expressing ourselves, not that big of a deal. But when you look at things within its larger context, it's hard for me to be able to separate a sense of self-hatred or a feeling, at the very least subconsciously, that my hair is not good when we've had a couple of hundred of years along with different policies and along with different things that were done to negatively impact Black people because of their hair. You're telling me that's happening and there's no way that's impacted you as a Black woman? No way. You know what I mean? So 2019, literally the first time that there was the Crown Act, right? Which is basically them saying, okay, we need to stop trying to discriminate against y'all because of hair. This was passed 2019 around the time of COVID. This is what, a couple of years ago. And here's the thing, just because something was passed does not necessarily mean that those laws are not going to be they're going to be followed. And that doesn't mean that the culture related to why that law wasn't passed doesn't still exist. So that's the first time, to my understanding, that we saw a law being passed that says, okay, we need to stop discriminating against people, primarily Black women, and then Black women probably after that, because of their hair. But with all that is going on and with all that I've expressed, right, we have the history of the people who took great pride in their hair, and then they were put into a scenario for hundreds upon hundreds of years. They were told that their hair was bad, and people who had certain hairs got access to better economic opportunity. Those who had more African hair were continuously degraded. You mean to tell me that that history has no impact on the way Black women choose to wear their hair today? This is exactly why when I said, oh, I think I'm tired of wigs, I think I was responding to that. But I could be wrong. You know, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But okay, really quick, I wanted to shout out, I saw all these generous super chats come through. First off, this is Sex Seal did that. Thank you so much for your generous super chat.
That go the money. That go the money. That go the money. That mother money. Money come. That money come. That go the money. That go the money. That go the money. That go the money.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think that is the first time I've gotten a super chat to that level. So I really appreciate it. I also, if I did, please let me know. Also, okay, I want to make sure I saw James J with the 10. Thank you so much with the thank you for having this conversation. It's my absolute pleasure. Truly, truly. Shout out to you can tell what's in your head by what's on your head. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. What's going on, Real Femme Sapien? Good to see you here. Very nice day from women. I'm looking forward to our next collab. So that should be fun. What's going on, Dapper Gents? You're always so steady. And I think I saw another one on the Cash App. So
hey, Sade, I don't know if you know, your mic's going in and out just a little bit. Like you sound a little underwater. Yeah, it's random times going in and out just a little bit, just so you know.
No, thank you for letting me know. I think I did get a notification. Can you hear me now? If you can't hear me now, let me know. Yeah, if that happens again, let me know for sure, because I'm like, nah, this is some important information. I'm trying to make sure that Y'all got everything. So I appreciate you guys for showing support. He says LOL with the church music. I had to do it correct. Sponsor of like the month slash year slash everything. Again, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you guys for being here. So okay, so back to the focus. I know I kind of put a lot of information out there, but like I said, I didn't want to just come with my fifis because I knew I was going to get pushback if I just said, oh, this is just self-hatred, or oh, you know, I wanted to come with some receipts. And I read that book with an open mind, being like, okay, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is just, we're now at the era where people can freely express themselves and we're no longer connected to that dark history of self-hatred. I went in with hoping to a certain extent that would be the case, but after reading through the information and seeing that this is so prevalent that you literally had to have a law passed like a couple of years ago, and you see stuff today on social media about self-hatred, about, you know, good hair, bad hair. I was like, it's still palpable. It is still palpable in my mind. But I want to hear from you. Given everything that I just shared, all the different points, what are your initial thoughts about this whole topic?
My initial thoughts about the whole topic.
Mm-hmm.
Love yourself. Period. I mean, we've been through as a people so much bondage, physically and mentally, even down to the tresses on our head. Mm-hmm. We're still in that mental bondage individually. It's not everyone. It's certain communities, it's certain households. But I mean, altogether, if I could be simple with it, is love yourself. And I say that, like, through and through 100%. And I say that because I thought I loved myself. Through and through. I thought that, I'm Jalen, whatever. I'm, doing my thing. I'm cute, all this. But deep down, I hated my hair. I didn't know what it was. I didn't want to know what the natural texture looked like. I didn't want to see the length. And again, there's a little bit more story to it because my hair texture did change as a child. So, but I was like one of those naturals who was natural, but I was like, I'm not going to go natural. Like, you ain't about to see me with no afro.
Okay.
When I really studied this, and, throughout conversation and whatever, what have you, and with going to an HBCU, by the way, and there was a mixture of women who are natural and women who love the weaves and all that good stuff, I came to the realization that at the end of the day, our community, again, is still under bondage because, yes, there were laws, even such as way back before the time periods you were even referring to, like the Pickme laws. I mean, where women in New Orleans, they said there was a law where they had to cover their hair because they were basically receiving attention, and the white women didn't like it because it was taken away, and it was just due to, of course, our style and the way that they braided their hair in elaborate and beautiful fashions. And so there was a law that said, hey, you need to cover up your tresses. You need to cover up your glory. So when I think about it in that aspect, in today's time, hey, baby, hey, girl, you covering up your glory. Love yourself.
Yeah.
I get it. You may not know how to do it. YouTube is available. The internet are available. But again, Sade, all together, I'd say, love yourself and let's rise up above this bondage that our ancestors were physically in and that we are mentally and even spiritually in.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I love how, first of all, thank you for being honest about even your experience with hair, because, I don't want to speak for all Black women, but I have talked to very, very many Black women who have had somewhat of a similar experience or a rather complicated experience with literally what grows out of their head. And I don't say this as a way to blame them because it's not, no one wakes up and says, oh, I want to hate myself. Like, there's obviously conditions and things that happen that make a person prone to not, loving the way that they feel. And so I love how you were able to acknowledge that and say, okay, maybe I don't really love my hair. And could one reason be, okay, for example, if we grew up with parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles, a generation where they were told every single day, and in some experiences, they were discriminated against because if they wear their hair a certain way, they couldn't get the job. Those are the people, those are our caregivers. Those are the people who model to us our value system. And some people are still experiencing that today. So it's like, if in that environment that is literally still learning how to appreciate your kinds of hair texture, how can you have self-love? How can you have a solid sense of self when all these components, your parents, other generations, grandparents, right? You get in certain jobs. I remember going into the corporate world, like I don't even think I have ever had a conversation about it, particularly because I just knew. I just was groomed to know I'm going into corporate. Okay, I'm just looking this stuff back. Okay, I'm straighten. Like you just know intrinsically, okay, based upon things that are said, based upon what you overhear, based on what you perceive. You know, I have to assimilate, especially if I'm going to go into this workplace and kill it. I got to assimilate. But what does that say about how you see yourself? And so, when I made my comment earlier about like, I'm tired of wigs, I could see how that could come off judgmental. And I'm like, at the same time, I think it's more of a sadness with the fact that some of us are still plagued by this. And you mentioned this idea of okay, self-love. Given all of the different variables that we discussed, the discrimination, the laws, right? Then even the culture, even the fact that even now we have a natural hair care movement. Anytime you see a rich Black woman, primarily, you see a celebrity, an actress, somebody that has the kind of lifestyle that women aspire to, 9 times out of 10, they have their straight hair. How do you develop self-love? How do you develop a love for your hair when that is going on? I mean, tell me your experience with that.
Well, I would say I've had social media, but I never was. Now, I'm not going to say I wasn't like comparing myself, because I was, but I didn't allow media to have that much of an effect on me. That being, it's just because I was just doing other things, whether it be, I don't know, some sport, or I don't know, I just occupy myself in a different way. So I didn't allow media to get to me in that aspect. In terms of myself, it was more so of just small things that were said throughout my life, whether it be from family, whether it be from friends, whether it be from peers. It would just be small things like, oh, you got beady beads too. Oh, oh, look at your naps, just small things like that you internalize over time. And I mean, I was relaxed as a child.
Okay.
So I, thought I was popping, but again, deep down, I really wasn't. And my hair was breaking. And so, with that being said, again, I just didn't allow media to really affect me. But I also was around women who were natural. As well. That also helped. Now, I wasn't natural at the time, but just seeing them did inspire me. So I would say that it added. And then on top of that, years later, my husband, I met him when I was relaxed and I was bleached, fried down, laid to the side. I had a pixie cut and it was honey blonde. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I was cute though. I was cute.
I'm sure you were. No, I'm sure you were.
Thank you. But he said, well, I know your hair was the way it was, but at least you had your hair. At least I saw what you had on your head.
Your scalp.
You didn't have a wig on. You didn't have a wig on or weave in when I met you. But then over time, he just really started opening me up in terms of showing you how beautiful I am naturally. And, he was really the main person, the main individual who really pushed me to cutting my hair off, just randomly, just, you know what, I'm tired of it. Choop, 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 choop. And my hair was this long. And that began my my natural hair journey. So that's what I would say. Surround yourself around people. If you ladies, if you like low key want to go natural, or you're kind of curious, but you're a little afraid and you need that push, hopefully this is your first push. And hopefully your second push are the women who are around you. Look, I also want to say this. If you know your family members, your aunties, your cousins, your mom, your grandma is not supportive or are not the biggest fan of what do they call? Oh, the natural jasmine, as like to say. If they're not the biggest fan of that, I would say just if they give your opinion, just their opinion, just let it roll off you, girl. Because at the end of the day, you're going to feel so much more fulfilled than if you still kept getting that creamy crack, if you still keep spending $500 on that weave or on those bundles. Go natural, girl. Go natural.
That's facts. And that's bar. So you said something. And correct me if I'm wrong. It was your Black husband that gave you the self-confidence and pride to wear your hair natural. Shout out to your husband, first off. Okay. Let me say this. Now, maybe this is just my algorithm, but the amount of videos that I've seen of Black women talking about, oh, these Black men are texturists, these Black men are futurists, they don't like our natural hair, therefore I must buy a weave, or if I do wear my natural hair, I must go to a white guy or assimilate into white culture, although white culture had to literally pass a Crown Act because that was as a result of Black people fighting to get the hair accepted. Nonetheless, those women are saying, look, Black men don't like us. It's only white guys who appreciate our natural hair. It's only other people that appreciate us. But Black guys want our hair long and straight. And this is something that I've heard a lot. And this is actually something that when you see women pushing back, they'll say, oh, it's because men love it. It's because men like the natural. They like the good hair. It's because they choose the women that have that kind of, they choose the exotical woman. So therefore, I got to get the exotical hair. This is some of the pushbacks that I hear. And this is some of the excuses that women use to say, we can't find the love that we want if we actually show our real hair. What would you say to that?
I would say, one, learn how to do your hair. Learn how to do your hair. Learn.
Concept.
What's that? I didn't hear.
What I'm saying, what a concept.
Oh, learn how to do your hair. Learn, finger combing, conditioners, oils. You don't have to go in depth. Don't go on YouTube and buy all the products because you're not going to use them. So, but I would say learn how to do your hair, but also to the fallacy is, girl, Black men would prefer to see you with your hair than someone else's hair. Okay. Like, at the end of the day, he's been looking at himself in the mirror his whole life. He's been looking at his mom his whole life and whomever else is in his family. And likely he likes his own hair. So what makes you think that he's not going to love yours and like yours? I mean, I understand. Let me back up. I would say to those responses, Sade, in my opinion, that sounds like insecurity. So it sounds like literally just pushing off accountability or pushing off blame to someone else in order to justify what you really want to do anyway. Again, based on in that insecurity, based on you seeing Cardi B and all these other celebrities who have a different weave every week. And I'm not like going on Cardi B, but she's just an example. These different celebrities, these different wealthy, famous women, they have different weaves every week, and they're trying to emulate that look, the long lashes, the long nails, the BBLs, the wigs. Yes, ma'am, it looks like you've got something. Did you want to interject? Did you want to interject? Oh, yeah, I thought you were saying something. Oh, okay. Okay, you're just like, yeah. Okay.
Just add a little bit.
Okay, no problem. But yeah, it's in that place to the history that you did mention. It's at one point it was wealthy women, wealthy men, and then eventually it moved to the regular people. Okay, and but I did watch a going to say like a documentary or something, where it talked about this, where it started off with wealthy folks wearing the wigs and the weaves, and then now the normal people. But the thing with the difference is the wealthy people, you know, they've got the bundles that could cost $2,000. We have the bundles and the wefts that cost $2, and that's why it's stiff, and you always have to condition it with silicone and all that stuff. Like, honey, wear your hair, because you're not gonna have to again spend all of that money. You're not gonna look like you certain, because I'm trying not to be, you know, to me.
No, you can. I mean, literally, the fact that we're having this conversation, like we're trying to you're essentially trying to lay out a case for why it's best for a woman to wear what grows out of their head. Like, just think about how crazy that is.
Everyone else wears their hair.
You're trying to convince somebody what God gave you, what you actually have, what you actually see, and what is natural to you is actually good. Like you're literally trying to lay out a case for why black hair is good.
Exactly.
You're scared of being, low key, of getting pushback, of having women in the comments being like, trying to fight against you as to why they need to have a reason not wear their own natural hair. To me, the fact that we're having to have this conversation.
Yes. I mean, I love it. I'm so happy you reached out. I'm like, yes, I love Shay. But yes, ma'am. I mean, ladies, if you put as much effort into if you put as much effort that you put into your wigs and your weaves, especially if you're getting texturized wigs and weaves, if you put that effort, because let me back up, because I was one of those. I was getting the 3B weaves. Okay, from her hair company. It was $200 and it barely lasted me a few months. Okay, wow. I was there. So if you put that same effort into your tresses that you put into the wigs and the weaves, baby, your hair is going to flourish in whatever texture is unique to you. And let me say this, ladies. You're wearing these straight and long weaves, right? That emulate non-Afro people, right? First of all, it doesn't match you, okay? I get it. It's one thing if you straighten your natural hair, right? That's one thing. But literally, like, we know what we're talking about here. You're getting that versus what can grow out of your hair if you take care of it, if you water it, if you just put oil. All you need is oil and water, ladies. If you in a conditioner, that's really all you need to start to be natural. Our hair grows up and out. Isn't it more beautiful for us who are of African descent? Isn't it more beautiful for us to walk around with a mane and a crown, right? Rather than, please don't be offended if you don't have Afro, but rather than something that's flat, hair that doesn't hold curl, and again, it's someone else's hair. And in some people, like some like in Africa, folks who have locks and things like that, they say it is disgusting to put someone else's hair on your head. You hear me? Disgusting. Because you don't know the spirits that is attached to those people. You don't know their habits. You don't know their habits. And now you're putting whatever is attached to them on your head. On you. And like, Sade, I'm a woman who believes in spirits transferring, right? So if you think of it in that way, especially if you're like Christian, you should understand that certain things carry spirits, like music, like whatever, right? Think of it in that aspect. They think of it in that aspect in the motherland. This is a spiritual thing. So if you think about it in that way, stop covering up your glory, boo. Stop covering up your glory. Learn how to do it and let your mane show.
Girl. Y'all. Because that's facts. You are telling straight facts. Seriously. And, you literally, I think, just summed up the feelings that I've been having associated with this entire discussion. And really what got me, you kind of alluded to it. I think you know, for those Bible readers out there, that I think, what is it? There's that one scripture talks about, I mean, there's many scriptures to talk about hair, but some alluding to the hair, you know, being a crown of glory and different things like that. And I think about the idea of the woman putting the glory of another woman on top of her hair. The woman wearing, it's like you're wearing another woman's crown while calling yourself queen. I mean, we be the main ones calling ourselves queen, wearing somebody else's crown, not even with the confidence to wear our own. And I'm not saying this, again, I'm not saying this as a way to try to pick on women, because based upon the history that I laid out to you earlier, it's like it was a survival mechanism. And in some ways, it very much is today. And this is why I'm very much about wanting to also encourage and, you know, help fund and support those who do want to promote, build up Black owned businesses or Black owned industries where your image can be reflected back to you, so that you don't have to deal with that. Because this is this is the result of, you know, being in a society where like Black is not the main beauty standard. And so there's always going to be that level of tension unless you have another like understanding of your culture and where you come from. And then you just have a solid sense of self in general, spiritually and all of that. But that is what really stuck out to me. And I think I alluded this to the previous video that I got when I got married. That was the first time I had gotten a weave, because I wanted to have a very specific hairstyle for my wedding, and I was in a humid area, and I was like, if I do my hair is about to be all frizzed up, I don't want to be heating it. So I decided to get a weave for my wedding because I wanted a specific hairstyle, and I was like, this is going to be probably one of those rare times. And I love my pictures, and I'm happy I did it because they was able to put all kinds of hairspray and it stayed in place. But I remember after that, you know, I had it on for, you know, maybe like a week or so. And it just was a very strange experience, because it's like I had to learn that hair. And I kind of thought it was going to be easier to maintain, because I would see people all the time get weaves, and I thought they did it somewhat as a way because it was easier. But when I figured out you still had to wash this, and they had instructions, you had to moisturize it also, I'm like, I might as well just do this to my own hair, and it's going to be cheaper. And you alluded to something great too, which was that if you figure out your own hair texture, it actually will grow for you. I think I didn't even really know honestly, I didn't know my hair texture problem until I was about like 18 or 19, because I just always had it straight, like legitimately. And I think my 18th birthday present was like, okay, you know, happy birthday, we're not paying for your hair anymore. And I had to figure it out myself, because my parents was like, you're an adult, you can do it. So then I had to figure out, how do I do this? And my parents, old school, always, my mom always wore straight. And so there was years of me figuring out stuff. And I think it's probably been, no lie, probably maybe the last 2-3 years legitimately where I'm just like, oh, I can grow my hair past a certain length too, because it would always like hit a certain point. And something I heard, especially from Black folks, was just like, okay, well, your hair has a limit to how far it can grow. If it just hits right to your eye, that's how far it's going to grow. That's it. And you just kind of had to just accept your fate. And so I thought that was me. But then I started figuring out there was like, and it was like little simple things that I was doing on a day-to-day basis that was keeping my hair from getting to a certain length. And it took me years to figure that out. And I'm just now like, okay, experimenting with certain things, but I know like, okay, if I do this for a couple of weeks, that's going to kill my hair growth. Oh, if I stop doing that's going to kill my hair growth. But I had to learn my hair. And how many women, if they did that growing up as young girls, instead of us learning how to press our hair, learning, okay, we got to put relaxers on, you got to, wrap it because you don't want the edges. Like if instead of us learning that, we knew, okay, here's my hair texture, here's my porosity, here's the kinds of oils that my hair needs. Like if we learn that, by the time we're in our 18, 19, 20, I would imagine that our own hair would be considered more manageable than the hair of another woman. But you tell me differently, because you supposedly have a harder hair texture to deal with. So I want to make sure I'm not like overstepping for the 4C or 4A and 4B sisters out there.
No, you are not overstepping. Now, of course, to maintain, well, when I was a little natural, of course, but to maintain my 4A is different from someone who has 4C. They're typically 4C, their hair is typically it depends, honestly. It can be drier, but I mean, it comes down not only to texture, ladies, if you're thinking about going natural, or if you're just kind of on the edge about not knowing how to take care of your hair, it's not always about texture. It's about your porosity.
Oh, that's huge.
Your porosity, okay? Yeah. Find that out. Just look it up, girl. You'll thank me later. But
huge.
You're correct. You're not overstepping. But yeah, I totally agree. If we just realize how beautiful our hair is, instead of looking outwardly, but look inwardly. But again, what's inward is, as in around us, is women with straight hair. Because yeah, my mom wore her hair straight as well for pretty much all of my life, actually. So I get it. But if you learn how to take care of your hair, if you learn how to appreciate your hair, it's kind of like a plant. Continue to water your hair and it will grow. Talk to your plant and it will grow. Water your plant and it will grow. Similar thing. And then when you learn how to take care of it, it will grow and grow and grow longer. And I cannot stand, Sade, I cannot stand the fact that, because it's sad, the fact that Black women really think that we cannot grow our hair. Because I thought, well, yeah, of course. We're just like, oh, well, maybe your hair just stopped growing, just as you said. But really, it was nobody knew how to actually take care of the texture. And the reason that our hair was only at a certain length was because we were putting the chemicals and the heat and the chemicals and the heat again, right after, a few weeks after. That is so unhealthy for Afro hair.
Yes.
We cannot do what our non-Afro people can. However, that's what we were doing, and we were putting relaxers on top of it. Yes. So that's why our hair continued to break. You don't drink enough water, so your hair is not getting the moisture it needs inwardly either. So it's just a culmination, Sade.
And the nutrition, you doing that, and then eating hot Cheetos and Popeyes.
And I can't lie. I love hot Cheetos. I can't lie. But still, drink some water, girl. Drink some water.
But I'm saying, like, all that stuff, and it does. Some of this does depend upon the individual person. But for one woman having hot Cheetos, she may can still grow some beautiful long locks. Another woman, she having hot Cheetos, and her hair is like down to her eyebrow. She's like, it can't grow. And so, and everyone, here's the thing about it. And I read this somewhere and I was like, this makes so much sense. Our hair grows. So the issue isn't growth. The issue is retention. It is figuring out, how do I maintain this hair so it doesn't continue to break off? And, porosity is a huge thing. Like for me, that was a big game changer, figuring out my porosity, and not only like the kind of moisture, but the way I applied moisture to my hair, and knowing like, okay, I have high porosity hair, for example. So my hair can take in moisture, but moisture leaves it super fast. So it's like, I can do like a heavy shea butter. I can do like heavy creams. Like my hair loves that stuff because it's always looking for moisture. Somebody that has low porosity hair, where their hair cuticle is closed, I've heard that you may want to steam your hair first. You may want to let it open up. Now, the good thing about low porosity hair, it can retain moisture a lot longer. But if you put that heavy oil on it, it can keep moisture from coming in. So just little things like that can make a big, big, big difference,
But that isn't taught in the home, as we know, because our mothers and our grandmothers and our aunts were not natural.
They were not. They were, and I think that is exactly it. I mean, I've talked to, like, I have two other sisters. All of them are natural, and they went natural as adults. And we've kind of had this conversation a lot about, like, okay, the messages that we had coming up with my hair, like with our hair, and talking to some of the older women in the family, and they'll admit, and they at the same time and say, like, yeah, it's sad that there is this self-hatred, and they're sad that I'll see young girls who are wearing wigs and weaves. And yet sometimes they still have this thing in their brain. It's just like, I have to straighten my hair. I have to wear a weave. It's like, I'll literally see that civil war going on inside of them. So these are for parents or, grandparents or aunts and uncles, the older generation, where that civil war is going on inside of them. They raised us.
Absolutely, Sade. And let me say this. In combination with everything we've already discussed, and you also did allude to it, texturism.
Yeah.
I got type 4. Sade's got type 3. My mother, and I'll let you know, the little history behind my hair. My mother has 3B, the type of hair that'll when it gets water on it, it just curls right up, no conditioner, none of that. My hair is nowhere near that. That's the type of hair my mom has. And so I actually had a hair texture similar up until I was around like 6, 7, or 8. And I actually, trigger warning, if you're sensitive people, if you're sensitive to like conditions of the scalp and the hair, just fair warning. But when I was like 6, 7, or 8, I contracted ringworm on my scalp from a theme park. And so as my condition healed, and obviously as my hair fell out and all those things, my hair went from 3B to 4A.
Oh, wow.
And now my mother was kind of like, look at this hair.
Wow.
Like what, so then, I was a very active child. And so, I chose in a way to be relaxed and stay relaxed because it was easier to manage. When really, we just should have figured out how to do it. But anyway, back to texturism. It's really I'm wearing this wig because I don't have 4C. Or excuse me, 3C, 3B, 3A, 2B. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm wearing this. Because I guarantee, Sade, if we as a people, like let's say type 4 didn't exist, right? You just had type 1 through type 3. I think we would be in a better spot. Maybe, who knows? But my point is, if I think texturism plays a huge part in why young ladies are wearing wigs, because throughout the natural hair movement, the faces of the movement were, and I know I'm of lighter complexion, but were the light skin type 3 women. They were the face of the natural hair movement. They were the face of these natural hair companies who were coming out and saying, hey, to all my natural sisters type 3 through 4, 4Z or whatever, if you use this product, this is the type of hair that you can achieve. And that is high. And so when your people were under bondage, physically, and then laws were created against them, and then as generations go on, you're no longer physically enslaved, but we were mentally enslaved, as mentioned. And then there were, of course, again, laws put against us and put against our people. When you go through all of those events, and then we look now and how we see that there are Black women who are constantly in the media who are showing us wigs and weaves rather than their natural hair, that is just when it's just a big whole like soup sandwich and like
literally.
We just don't know what to do, so we're just going to default to relaxers and weaves. So I think texturism, Sade, again, is also a reason behind the lack of self-esteem that our people have, that our women have, as well as the reason, or a reason, as to why women may default to wigs and weaves.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because this is something I had a friend when I was talking with a couple of weeks back, and we were going back and forth about this topic, and she had even noticed, she's like, yeah, like the natural hair movement, for lack of a better term, was like co-opted by the mixed light skin, good hair kind of chicks. Like you didn't really see a lot of those larger brands showing off darker skinned women with like the really, really kinky hair. You didn't see that. It was very much more of like a looser, kind of ethically ambiguous channels, influencers that were really getting the traction. And so there's something to be said about that for sure. And, it's given the hundreds of years of really brainwashing that Black people have experienced, a few years ain't going to just walk that away. Even a couple of decades, it's going to take a little bit of time, I think, for people to unlearn certain things. And it's also going to take more time for now Black people, especially in this environment, to know how to best maintain their hair outside of its original habitat, because that's really essentially what it is. And I'm going to be doing a video about this a little later on, like how Black women around the world grow their hair natural, because once you get the method down and stuff and you start playing around with it, it's like not only can it grow, like I generally think like a woman's natural hair, when she's taking care of it and she knows her regimen, is beautiful. Like I follow a couple of the 4C content creators that I love. They love their hair. I think they're beautiful. I've learned so much from them, and I don't even have 4C hair. So I don't even think it's necessarily like you don't have to have that texture to be beautiful, but that does exist. Texturism does exist, and it probably still very much is connected to the Crown Acts, right? Or the different cases that we mentioned where women were getting discriminated against because their hair was considered unmanageable. So it's going to take a little bit of time. But also want to ask you this question, and then if we have a few minutes, I want to be mindful of time. I know you have a family and all that, so we're coming up about 1 hour and 15. Let me know if you want to take a call or two or something, or if you want to wrap this up and I can take calls myself, but you just let me know.
Yeah, we can take a call or two. I'm probably just gonna text my husband because he took the baby elsewhere.
Okay.
But yeah, we can definitely take a call or two. But go ahead, ask your question.
Yeah, so the question I wanted to ask you, and this might be where it'll be a good time to open up the call lines to any gentlemen or ladies who want to weigh in on this topic or any other topics. So I started off this whole thing with just ban all wigs, which first of all, I'm just curious, like if you could be president and you could sign an executive order to ban all wigs, one, would you do that? Two, what do you think the influence of men is in relation to how women do their hair? Do you think men play a pivotal role in this? Do you think the male gaze does truly impact how women do their hair? Or do you think women don't really care? They're just competing with themselves. So I asked you 2 questions, not one.
It's okay. I've got mommy brain, so just remind me. So your first question is, if I was president for a day, or if I was president, would I ban all wigs? Yes. Right? No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
However, I would, if I were to do this, right, create some type of stipulation, right? I would say like, hey, well, really, I mean, truly, you can put on your head what you want. However, in a perfect world, and if I could do what I wanted, I would create stipulations, right? If you have a medical situation such as alopecia, by all means, wear your wig, girl. I would also put in there like some type of wig for those with medical conditions, wig stipend or something like that. So women who, folks, because men have alopecia too, and they may want to wear wigs. I don't know, whatever. But
look, that's all man weave.
Man weave, you might want your man weave, So, I would put kind of like a little asterisk, like if you've got a medical condition, by all means, we've got this stipend that's available, so you don't have to come out of pocket so much to feel confident. Now, if you're just not willing to take care of your natural hair, then you're gonna have to figure it out. Let me say this, and then I'm gonna go back to your questions. I remember one of my friends in college. She was always wearing a long weave, okay, like straight, okay, and bone straight, and she always wore. And she basically told me that she has long hair, but she doesn't take care of it.
Okay.
And I just could not believe it. I'm just like, girl, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to make my hair grow, and you're not even appreciating what you have on your head. So I would say I wouldn't ban all weaves, but there would be certain, criteria that someone would have to meet if they absolutely wanted a wig.
Right.
Now your second and third question was what now?
I was asking what impact men have in this whole conversation. and how women feel is best for them to wear their hair?
I think men can and do have weight in this conversation, as well as have weight in if a woman wears her, if we wear our natural hair. Again, if you missed the beginning or the part whenever I said this, my husband was really the huge tipping point in terms of me going natural. So with that being said, if it wasn't for him, I likely wouldn't be sitting here in front of you right now. And so I think the influence of men can and do have weight on if a woman goes natural. Now, Sade, as we know, we live in a gynocratic society. So with that in mind, because you did ask, do women not care? I think some women genuinely do not care, particularly Black women. And again, Black women, you have no business participating in feminism. But I'm just going.
That's a whole nother conversation. No, I hear you.
That's a whole other conversation. But you have no business participating in that. Moving back to what I was saying, and in this society that we live in, I would say that there generally are sisters who don't care about what the brother thinks about her head. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I make my own money. I'm strong and independent. And so I'm going to wear whatever hair I want to wear. So if I want to wear a red wig today, a purple wig tomorrow, I absolutely can. There's nothing wrong with expression, ladies, so don't get me wrong. However, I do think that there are some women, some sisters who genuinely don't care what our men think. And I genuinely believe if our men, and I'm not a man, so I don't know, but if I think our men were even more vocal in terms of like, hey, we like sis down there with the wig, but really, like, we just want to, get in and get out. But really, if we want a wife, when we're looking for a wife, we want the sisters who know how to do her own hair, because guess what? She'll be able to do our daughter's hair.
That's facts. Now that is absolute facts. There are a few super chats I want to make sure I acknowledge, and then I will respond because you hit on some great points. Shout out to you, Robert Benjamin, with the $5 on the super sticker. Shout out to you, Dane C. It says, when did using the hot comb fell out of use? Yeah, a good old shampoo, press and curl, man. A good old shampoo, press and curl. I think honestly, and this is what they alluded to in the book that I referenced. So, I mean, obviously hot comb is still available, but I think one of the reasons there are women who flock to the wig is because, one, it can give them their ideal hair without having to do really any of the work. Whether it's growing it to a certain length or whether it's having a texture that their hair naturally doesn't do, whether it's just wanting it straight, like it can give them whatever ideal look that they want without them having to do it themselves. And there's some people who just, when they just, that makes the most sense for them. Shout out to you, Mr. Bobby Wright. Says, wouldn't it be considered featureism if you wear non-4C weave? Everything is featureism. Better you with the 5. It says, I love this discussion. Love natural hair on Black women. I hope you both be blessed and prosperous. Thank you. I do appreciate you. Okay. And then Coach Keith, I think he had a question that says, ladies, what are your thoughts about men being frustrated with not being able to play with or touch Black women's hair? We love to play with your real hair. I don't know if you want to weigh in on that.
What are your thoughts? You have the right to be. You have the right to be frustrated, because at the end of the day, in a way, some women aren't going to like this, but we belong to you, right? And so if you're frustrated about the way we're wearing our hair, then we should definitely take heed. Now, in terms of not being able to play in your hair and stuff, like I can imagine, like especially if it's your woman, you want to have her in totality. If she's your wife, you want to have her in her totality, not just baby, like from here to here, like
yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, so like my husband, like great, I've worn weaves. I tried to play with wigs, but it just never worked out for me. But my husband could not stand when I had on a wig. Like he couldn't stand. He would have rather me be bald headed with my little 1-inch fuzzy hair. Seriously, Sade. Like he preferred for me to look like a tennis ball, like especially for my ladies who transition or like did a big chop. You've got like your new growth, which is like kind of natural, and then you've got like the straight parts from the perm. That was me. Like my hair was this long, and I promise you, my husband called me tennis ball. And when I look back at the pictures, I really did. It was funny. He always makes jokes at me, but really, my hair was
have that kind of relationship.
No, we did. But seriously, my hair was so frizzy and like fuzzy. But he preferred that over, my wig that I named Jasmine. That was a bob. I did. I named her Jasmine. She was a bob. She was a side part. I mean, she was cute.
That's hilarious.
But it just wasn't it. It looked off. And I mean, even the blonde, outside of it being blonde, it looked off. And so he hated it. My husband wanted to be able to run his, fingers through my hair and whatever the case is. So back to your question, Coach Key. I think you have Black men in particular, have the right to be frustrated, about the way we wear our hair, about not being able to play with it, or touch it. I mean, let your woman know if you don't like it. She might go natural like I did.
That's a really good point. And honestly, this is just if I don't know, if perhaps there are some women out there who just ain't gonna care. They're just gonna do whatever they want to do because they want to do them. And okay, no issue there. This doesn't really apply to you. But I think many of them really do, whether or not they are honest or dishonest, they do. And I think personally, if some of the men started to show or move with their pocketbooks, right? I don't know if maybe we saw more representation, we saw high value men, like if women were getting these visuals that like these kind of men that we want, they're only going for these kind of natural sisters. I wonder if that would over some time start to really make a difference, because whether or not we want to accept it, women are incredibly susceptible, especially to media brainwashing, to messaging, because it impacts us on all levels. Even if we don't listen to media, even if we don't personally watch media, you go to school, you're interacting with other people who do. They're saying things based upon that. They're making jokes. They're making comments. So it's like it impacts us really on all levels. And I wonder about that. Like if women started to see clearly that the kind of men that we essentially want, the top 10, 15, whatever percent that we want, we're only seeing them with these kinds of women. I wonder if that would start to change the conversation. I don't know. I could be wrong. What's going on, Chantel? Good to see you here. Good to see you. Mindful of your time. Any lovely ladies, if any of you guys want to call in or let me know, or call in or share it, let me know, because I'd love to hear from you. I mean, we obviously have gentlemen here who have their point they want to add, but this is also a safe space. I want women to feel like they can weigh in if you agree with what we're saying or if you disagree. If you think we are taking it too far and women should be able to wear whatever long blonde 1A hairstyle and it not be an issue, like I'm here to hear from you. So okay, looks like we got Christian in the background.
Hey guys, how you guys been today?
Hey, good. So what do you have on this whole topic?
No, I actually want to ask like a couple questions here. The first is like, when was the last time that you ladies were straightened your hair to see the true length? That's like the first one. And the second one would be, do you have any considerations that you try and maybe just silk press or straighten your hair in the future whenever you decide to see like how long it really is? Not to say try to assimilate, but to see the actual growth and like how well it's doing and like how healthy it is, the whole 9 yards. All right.
Okay, so you're saying first one was when was the last time we did like a length check?
Like a silk press, straightening hair, the whole ordeal. It's like basically seeing the true length.
Oh my gosh, I haven't put heat on my hair. Well, I blow dried it, but I haven't like a hair shot probably in at least 2-3 years, honestly. So it's been some time since I've done like a a shop like let's see the true length once it's straight.
Right.
It's been a while. I've that's in the back of my head to want to do once I get it to a certain length and it's natural. But
What's the length you trying to aim for? Like waist length, butt length? You know, basically trying to be like one of the Rapunzels on Instagram. So deals.
I want to see how long it could go because, as I was explaining with her, I personally never. I don't think I really knew the regimen to allow it to grow and allow the thing. So I'm trying to see. I think I would be happy with waist length. I don't know if I would want to go any longer than that because then again, you start sitting on stuff and it just seems a little bit just chaotic.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. You know,
right? Because I know it's like the straining part. I know it's in the back of your mind. I want to try to force you to do anything that you don't want to do or anything like that. Please just don't take it the wrong way. You know what I mean? But I think it'd be like very nice if you see like a lot of black women, they literally trying to wear like the stuff on their head, literally be like multiple people, like one natural, one straight, one with braids, you know, like just take off all the wigs and everything, like so that we'll be able to actually legally cheat. I think that would be literally be like the best thing ever.
Yeah, you're saying to see for women with just in their natural. I don't disagree.
Yeah, natural. But if they want to relax it too, that's their right. I'm not gonna stop them doing whatsoever. Like as long as it's comfortable with them, like if like a weave situation, if they want to just wear weaves or wigs for like protect the styles and growth, that's understandable. Like I definitely understand that as well. So whatever it is, this is they decide to make.
Got it. Chantel, what's going on? Chaos Brain, I see you too.
Hey guys.
Hey,
Hey,
Hey, it's so funny you're talking about this. Shardy, I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago when I was convincing you to have your hair channel.
Yeah, they've been telling me to do a hair. I told you, I think eventually there's still some things I want to do with this channel, but I am planning on doing more like hair related videos here. So I think that's my first phase is to do some more stuff here, and depending upon how that goes, I might just do a whole separate channel.
Because I think this conversation is important. Like for me, to be transparent, I said my New Year's resolution is to start wearing my natural hair. Because y'all know I'm always in braids, and that's due. Well, the excuse I always say it's because I work out a lot, and it's just easier to wear braids. But then I honestly think that I've been capping all these years. I honestly think it's just an excuse. So I'm gonna try my best to wear my natural hair. I was actually deep conditioning my hair today.
Okay.
And I remembered when you did your deep condition video the other day. So this is an interesting topic. I think we hide behind the excuses. We say it's a protective style. We say, it's just easier, which it is true, especially if you have 4C hair. It is true it's easier to just throw on a wig. But I think a part of it too is laziness, honestly. And I think I have been lazy too, just, pulling in the braids and then just pinning it up, go work out. And then, you put oil or moisturizer in it and that's all you have to do.
Well, I'll say this because earlier on, I kind of did like a presentation and we started the conversation with like, okay, when Black women were in their natural habitat, how they were doing their hair. And even women, pre-colonial Africa, before this whole wigs and everything, they were still spending a lot of time on their hair. So it's like, I think it's one of those things like, okay, level of self-acceptance. Black hair requires maintenance. This is why I said I don't need an animal because this is my pet. This hair on my head is my pet. It needs to be fed. It needs to be drink. It needs to walk. It needs to rest. Like this is my animal. So Black hair does require a level of maintenance. Now it's like if we grew up, I think learning how to do it, learning our porosity, which is a big thing, learning our hair type, then I think, you could start to figure out time-saving ways and you add it into your regimen because whatever is important to you, you're going to make time for.
I agree.
And braids, I think, me personally, like I love braids because braids are a good, healthy, protective style. I personally don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, Black women have been doing braids for thousands of years. So it's very much a part of our experience and the way that we express ourselves. But I do understand, Chantel, if it's like if you're only doing braids because you don't know how to condition your hair, you don't really know what else
exactly.
to do. Yeah.
And we touched on that a couple of weeks ago when we talked privately. It's like a lot of us because we weren't taught how to do our hair, so we don't have a regimen. I have a question for Bella, real quick. Bella, I know that you work out. What do you do with your hair when you work out?
Well, I'm locked now, so I don't have to do much, girl. Thank you, Jesus. But when I was a loose natural, I honestly, Chantel, I just worked out. Like, and whatever my hair turned into is what it turned into, and I would just deal with it.
What
Then,
do you mean
but
by loose natural?
oh, as in not having locks, like just
Oh,
I have
okay.
locks, yeah. So I know they're still really young locks, so it just kind of looks like a twist out or something, but they're locks, I promise. But I just worked out, and as far as braids are okay if you don't know how to do your hair. Just give your hair a rest, and then just figure it out in between each like each braiding session or each like time you get braids, so that way you won't be completely daunted if you just decide like, okay, I just want to wear my hair out. You'll at least have that experience from before with taking care of your hair. And also, Chantel, to answer your question, I wore a lot of individual braids, so I literally, and this was before my son because I just don't have the time, but I would literally just sit and part my hair and just braid and twist it up. And so a lot of times I had my hair in mini twists and braids, as well as I loved knotless braids as well. But that's pretty much what I would do. I generally kept my hair in a protective style when I, before I decide to lock my hair, because I like not having my fingers in my hair all the time, because I understand how to keep my texture, how to retain, my length. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it did. I'm figuring it out. I'm gonna spend 2023 figuring it out, learning.
Chantel, I don't mean to interrupt you guys, but how long have you been natural, Chantel? If you don't mind me asking.
What do you mean natural?
No, how long have you been natural? That's what I meant to say. Like, how long have you been wearing your natural hair for?
Oh, today. I took my
this is your first day ever being natural.
yeah, like that's what I asked what you mean by natural. Like I would always take out my hair, wash it, and then put in back braids. So I haven't like wore my hair out like consistently for like
so
yeah.
it's not like 1 year natural, 2 years natural, 3 years natural. It was like transitioning like the year before, or was
Wait,
it
when you're saying natural, are you meaning natural as in not relaxed or
not
natural?
relaxed? Yes.
Oh, well, I'm not relaxed. I haven't had a relaxer in like a minute because I always had braids in.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would wear the braids, then wash my hair, deep condition it, then go get braids again. So I haven't like worn my hair out. Pardon me. I haven't worn my hair out
Outside of
in like a
straightening
long
it.
time.
Okay.
No, outside of braiding it, I don't straighten.
Oh.
Yeah, Chantel, I would just suggest trying styles just on your natural hair. So like mini twists. So just take the time. It's gonna take some time, girl, but mini twists or braids, try that out. So that will still kind of give you your braids, but you're not gonna have to like, get it done or have someone do it, but you're not gonna have weave in it. So that way, that'll also, because this happened to me, that may also help you to love your hair and to figure out your hair a little bit more as well, because that's what happened with me.
Yeah, I've been trying braid outs and twist out, but it's one of those things like the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. So I'm just trying to give myself some grace.
Also, really,
and keep it, sorry.
No. You're fine. I was just gonna say real quick. Now, at least, and maybe I know because I have high porosity hair, it makes a big difference. But like the winter, like my hair, I've been trying to keep my hair up in something like all winter, because that's when it gets super cold, and black hair in general like needs moisture. In this cold climate, like our hair is not really used to. So I don't like, I'm trying to have it to where I don't have my hair out like that in winter. Like I'm protecting it. Like your hair needs to rest. And so if you feel like your hair is starting to get really dry or extra dry, take note of that. And you want to make sure maybe you have your hair in a style of something that's going to keep it compressed so it can maintain that moisture. In summer and warm, when it's warmer, it's not so bad. But like now, that temperature makes a big difference.
Because that hair you have on in now, Sade, how you did your hair now, that's considered a protective style, right?
Yeah, that's why I did it. And for me, because my hair, it gets super tangled, and it can get, like I said, extra dry in this weather. And so I'm always trying to like find different things now to like, how do I keep my hair compressed so it's maintaining moisture? And then I'm somewhat stretching it so it doesn't tangle up and get in knots.
Okay,
Can
because I find a lot of times when they say protective style, I thought they meant just wigs, but it's like protective style could mean on your own natural
Yeah,
hair.
natural hair. Yeah. Yeah.
can I say something on this topic, if that's
Hey.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so as a Black woman, I used to wear my natural hair. I was natural for a very, very long time. I have type 4C. So a lot of times our hair is labeled as unprofessional. A lot of times we are called nappy headed. A lot of times Black men will call our hair nappy and that we're unprofessional. Kevin Samuels is a very big, big, big promoter of professionalism, even though he's passed away now, but he spoke on that before. It was like a debate that he had on the Lapeef network that nappy hair or like type 4 kinky hair is very unprofessional. So me, I'm not a troll. They just don't like my viewpoints. I believe in Black genocide. I do not like the Black race. I think that we should breed out. I think that interracial dating, which is why I support the red pill and the SYSBM and Passport Bros and the divestiture movement. I support it because I just think our race is just a piece of crap. But yeah, they don't like my viewpoints. But I go on every live stream and debate people. But I just think that the natural hair, which is why I am purposely creating my babies with a white guy, because I don't want my babies to come out with Black features. I noticed that Black features are like a laughing stock. Like right now I get perms, but and I would never ever go back to natural hair because I've been these people I've been called, I'm trying to like stay serious because I do laugh a lot. None of this stuff really gets to me as the internet. So I just like, I'm completely honest. I'm brutally honest. And that's why they call me a troll, because no Black woman speaks the way I do. But no, I just think Black features are the least desired for a reason. We're so undesirable that Black men don't go for women with afros or like type 4 hair. I don't know what that sound is, but it's super weird. But I just think that we should breed out so that our next babies won't have to suffer the same exact, feeling of undesirable, because we are the least desirable if you think about it. Like white woman.
So I know I said it looks like Bella had something. Sorry, Bella had something she wanted to weigh in. Then I did want to give Chaos Brain a chance to weigh in, because I do want to be mindful of your time. I do know you have a beautiful baby boy that you have to tend to, and also a husband. So I want to make sure that we are mindful of your time. Thank you, Anna. I think it was for weighing in.
Anna Margaret.
Yeah. Do you have a response, Bella? And then I want to make sure Chaos Brain has a chance to weigh in.
Yeah, I mean,
oh, it looks like
although I don't agree with you, I understand first. So let me just say that. So anything I'm going to say after this, it's not accurate. It's not to anything.
Somebody's audio is bad.
Is that me? Can you guys hear me?
No, that was Bella.
Sorry, muted. My mic wasn't muted. Okay, let me say it again.
Do y'all hear that?
Bella, yeah, Bella, your mic.
The mic is buzzing out. You might jump down and come back. Cause anytime when the mic go like that, it's hard to tune unless you're using like a phone or a mic. You might just jump completely down from the studio.
Yeah, you guys make sure that you're muted when you're not talking. Your audio was sounding really off, Bella. So you may want to just drop down and then come back up. Chaos Brain, feel free to weigh in, and then Bella, once we get the audio fixed, you can continue.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to fix. I'll say something if I have a question for it. But one thing about this natural hair and the resurgence, if there's any, it's going to come to the point most Black people going to have to go back. I noticed there was some laws put into place so that way they could have their natural hair in the workforce. Mm-hmm. But let's be honest, why we have to fight, or ladies have to fight, or whoever fought to make this happen, just to carry your own natural hair? There's something psychologically wrong with a set of people that want, especially sisters, that have or don't have the choice, if they can, to maintain their own natural hair. And now I might think it might be more corporate than it is now, because if we look at the money that's spent alone, this is in the billions. Oh, yeah. So it has. I'm sure it's 10, but I think now it might be 12 billion now since last year. Cause I think every year it goes up.
Are you talking about the amount of money for weave, or just Black hair care in general?
Just in general, but we could start with weave, because every market is different with pricing.
I'd have to go back and I don't remember the exact numbers. I know when I looked the book I was reading, which is I think probably it's a couple of years old. Man, I think they said like the raw value that they were bringing over, I think was hair that was like valued at like 25 million, but that's before it was marked up. Or no, it was like 25, I think, million pounds of like fake hair that they were bringing over. And that was like, I think that book is about 10 years old that I read. So.
Okay. Yeah. So we got to be honest that this is something much more deeper than when it seems. And this is a strategy, a marketing strategy overall, that you have to be dependent on buying this hair. You get me? They need you to be dependent.
Oh yeah. Oh no, for sure. Absolutely.
If you're not dependent, and what else purpose you serve? Because let's be honest, that's a lot of money for hair. Some that's not yours, and we don't understand when we look at the billions alone. That's fueled to fill other people's economies, the ones that don't really have enough to offer, but we're giving them the necessary resource, which is your dollar bills to eat. That's a problem. Yeah. Because when you start doing that, now they don't have less respect for you because they know you already hate yourself from the start. And obviously, a lot of women don't want to hear this, but let's be honest. You're investing too much money to have something that's not part of your scalp for a long-term process. And we all know it does not come out at the end for a lot of us that constantly are buying the fake hair, put on it, or press, wherever the case may be, your hair eventually starts to deteriorate because it's a result of not really maintaining what is yours.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, I'm sure if her mic's working. Let's see if her mic working.
Yeah.
I have a question. Let me see if her mic's working.
We're checking with you, Bella. See how you're sounding.
Is it working?
Okay. Yes, it works.
Hey, I don't know what happened. Like, what?
It happens sometimes. It's all good.
Well, my question, Bella. Bella, have you ever thought of writing a particular book on this from your own journey, possibly?
Have I thought about writing a book?
Yes, just thought.
Not particularly about natural hair, but thank you for the idea.
Okay. And the reason why I ask you, because let's be honest, everybody goes through the journeys through the resurgence of awakening and really finding oneself. And in regards to femininity, because I know a lot of women are making their own channels, that one of the few things that you can't mark out is to carry and keep natural as possible. You can't be artificial and be considered feminine. It don't work like, especially if you're trying to bring out persona, You want to be as natural as possible, not just all the way, but just possible. If really we want to talk about the seriousness, you get me? And a lot of women miss that. They think I can just come as I am, go artificial, body, hair, etc., and then keep going and thinking this is feminine. No, because these things are just new to us. This is something new for the last couple decades. So if you really want to be serious, you might have to go back to old school, back to original in regards to look, the aesthetic parts of things. So,
well, absolutely. I would say that it goes back to some of the things that Sade and I mentioned earlier, and actually a little bit of what is it, Anna said.
Yes, my name is Miss Anna Margaret.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
or just Anna Margaret or Margaret doesn't matter.
What you want me to say? Okay, Anna Margaret. I'm not gonna say it right. I'm sorry. I'm trying. But to what we said, we've been Black women, Black folks, Black women have been essentially taught or in different ways been so oppressed to the point where we think that we are less than, we are undesirable, and things like that. When in fact
we are.
When in fact, let me say this to you, Anna, that I was trying to say this when my mic started acting up. I am going to respond to you, but I want to let you know that I understand where you're coming from. Okay.
So, yes, thank you. And a lot of
wait, can you just let her finish her point, and then we'll let you weigh in.
Yeah. So my response is not to attack you or to make you feel some type of way, but it's just to provide my perspective, especially since we're talking about this, and considering some of my life experience. So yes, some people say, women are Black women are undesirable, but I'm sorry, but I can't agree. Now, Black women, like the aggressive, the non-submissive, that type of Black woman is undesirable. However, our features are desired. So I don't want you to misunderstand that. For example, when I was in the 4th grade, I particularly remember this. At the time I went to predominantly white school. The little popular white girls was, oh, your lips are so big, oh, your hair stands up, and pointing out my beautiful features. And again, particularly my lips, my full lips. I went home and told my mother, like, Mommy, I hate my lips. And she's like, your lips are beautiful and you're going to love your lips when you're older. I said, no, I'm not. And I do. And guess what? All those little girls who were saying, oh, your lips so big. What are they doing in their pictures? Duck lips. Now, another thing is, you said,
Ella, your audio.
Is it bad again? Is my audio bad again?
Yes, it's doing its thing. it is doing its thing. Man, especially when you get into
the stag's not that bad. It's a little bit, but keep talking. It's not like it was bad when it's like a little bit.
Better, not better.
Yes, very good. You're good. You're good. You must have a short in your mic. That's the only reason why it's doing that.
And this is a new mic, so I've been having issues with this mic, y'all. But thank you for letting me know, because I don't want to, mess up your ears. But so that's one thing. Anna, you mentioned that you don't want your children to have Black features and da-da-da. I get it, but and you don't have to answer, but my question is, no, my first question, I was going to say something, but my first question is, are you biracial or mixed in any way? 2, were you raised by someone who's Black or no? Because in my opinion, those things can contribute to your self-perception. And now you have created children or are trying to create children, but you have, in my opinion, deep-seated hate for who you are. Whether you are all Black, half Black, 25% Black. So I want to say to you, sweetheart, really dig deep and try to identify why you hate yourself, why you hate your men, why you hate your mother, your cousin, or whoever made you Black. Because at the end of the day, you are going to create children who hate themselves because you are going to instill those negative values in your children, and you're also going to make them think that they are better than because they are lighter, because they have Caucasian phenotype, and that is completely unfair because you have Afro phenotype. Even though you're lighter, you still have Afro phenotype. So check your self-hate, honey.
Can I add something?
So I kept on getting all my members telling me that she was a troll. So
yeah, I was about to say, because I don't think it's self-hate. I mean, if you listen to what she said, she just wanted to.
I think
she just wanted to stir up the conversation. We were having such a good conversation, and she came in with things that weren't even relevant to the conversation. So she honestly just wanted attention. And it is self-hate, but I don't think the things that she were saying was due to self-hate. She has self-hatred because she wants attention. And I don't think she believed all of those things that she was just saying. She just wanted to stir the pot. And which is so unfortunate, because the conversations you guys were having earlier and the questions that you guys answered that I had was so beneficial, because as I said earlier, myself included, we weren't taught how to take care of our hair. It was, you wash it on Sunday, and then y'all remember that blue hair oil, that thick oil that they used to put in our hair.
Yeah, blue magic.
Blue magic, yes. That's all and it was so unhealthy for our hair. It's like we weren't taught how to take care of our hair. So I mean, I admire you guys for having this conversation, and shout out to you, Sade, for wanting to go in this direction on your channel, because I think it would really help the community.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. And maybe this can be another. I've been thinking, like, would it be helpful if we just had like a like a separate call-in or something where we just talk about like how to figure out your hair porosity, like what are actual different tips
And
that you
products.
use.
For the longest, I did not know that you should moisturize. I thought oil in your hair was enough. Like when I tell y'all, I did not know anything about hair. And it's
Yeah.
like little things like that where I'm like, wait, so oiling is not the same as moisturizing.
It's not.
So
Oh no.
I did not know.
Yeah, I've been
It-
thinking about that. So that might be
it-
another like live. Maybe you can just have like a live where we just talk black hair. Like, how do you figure out your porosity? How do you figure out or your texture? How do you know what method works best for you? What are the kinds of oils you should not use? Because all that really makes a big difference. And there's probably a lot of women out there who think that if they just add some oil, then it's going to penetrate their hair, and it's not. That's not
Yeah,
going.
it's like, why should people be so concerned about like all the stuff that's in your head just to going on work? Like, why are folks so salty about like certain things that they can't have? And like the reason why you're seeing like all these other groups really like bigger about, oh, like we got this like special hair type, you got all these special features because they wish they had what you have. They can't even get. They're literally cowards and they're literally deeply insecure people in the end of the day. Why should you even be concerned about something like that? And it's just ridiculous that you have to put it like a crown act just because you be able to just be yourself and just be whoever you want to be. And I think it's just beyond and ignorant. I think it's beyond stupid, numbskullish, however it may be, idiotic, however it is. But it's just like it's sin and shame to do somebody's deep insecurities about what other people are thinking, why they never really wanted to see you up there in the first place.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Do you guys have any feedback or? I mean, just in general, I know we covered off a lot. Just talking about the history of this whole thing and where we're at today. I love your transparency, Chantel, because I think a lot of women are where you are at. Because truthfully, just in my research, and I could be wrong here, but truthfully, I feel like it's our generation that has really started to try to embrace our natural in like a real way. Of course, there was in the 60s when you had, the afros and all of that, but that was a little short-lived to a certain extent because then, like there was the pressures of work discrimination and Black people having to, again, get along in a white society. So I really feel like it's our generation who is just now being like, okay, we actually want to figure out how to do our hair in its different states. And you do have the Crown Act, which was recently passed. Now it's probably going to take some time for that to really do anything, but at least it's now there. But so yeah, I mean, I'm just curious if you guys have any other thoughts and related to not only just what we discussed as far as this self-hatred or anything, but first our ultimate question: would banning all wigs, would that actually help? Would that like help this entire all the self-hatred that we have seen up to this point? And more importantly, what do you think is going to help make this situation better so that women can really feel confident and prepared to do their own natural hair and to wear it?
Well, I got like about a couple of points. The first one definitely ban most of the wigs there as well as the weaves, except a few cases, right? Unless the woman has alopecia, she's undergoing chemotherapy, or she basically feels like the wigs and weaves are there as a protective style so that like the hair gets nurtured and moisturized, that type of whole thing. But if you just like wearing wigs just because you're concerned about other folks are thinking about all the time, you want to try and look like Cardi B all the time.
Yeah.
Really, like Timmy Gomi Natural, I think it's just beyond nonsensical. It's just like if I see something like that, I'm just literally gonna try and steal the way and just try and hide it somewhere and actually just go play with all the braids literally underneath. What I mean? That would probably be like a better way to go. That is just like some high, deep, insecure stuff right there. The second point would be, definitely see if like all like three of you ladies here, Miss Sade, Bella, and Chantel, see if you can try to audition for some hair modeling commercials, whether it's like for natural products or whether it be like some hair suppressed products, not the relaxers, right? But see if they can try and get you on some commercials with instant products and all that stuff, to try and get yourself on there to make yourself literally the face, so that more folks will literally actually be more woken up and actually appreciate like the hair that's literally up on their head for one. And two, they can literally emulate their little herbal essences moment or Pantene moments that they have up in there. I understand Chantel's a little bit hiding with the photos. I know she's not ready to actually show off her natural hair as of yet, which I fully understand, I fully respect. That's deeply understandable, right? And the third point I really want to try to present with this whole ordeal it's basically you have to come up with like some encouragement, not just with basically within themselves to YouTube, but also with close family members saying, hey, you're beautiful the way you are. You have the freedom of choice to do whatever you want to do if you so choose. If you choose to go natural, I think it'll be like a fun thing. And actually like being like weird multiple heads and ones that you'll be able to legally cheat. So that's the only three things I really want to focus on. And also to Anna over there that's literally just hiding and just running away. Kevin Samuels also said this, man also wants to actually see you with your natural hair. We don't want to see you up in your wigs and wigs. If I'm not mistaken, the late Kevin Samuels actually stated this when he was actually telling a woman who actually called into his show, right? So I understand the corporate world, you gotta like have like some way, you gotta be wearing certain hairs. I know you want to try and make sure everything is kempt and everything. And correct me if I'm wrong. If he didn't say that, I truly apologize. But that's what he basically said. But the same Kevin Samuels literally said, we want to see you with your hair out. We want to see you with your natural hair, whether it's fully curly or fully straight, however you do it. We just don't want to see any wigs or weaves up in your head.
Honestly, let me add to the last thing Kristen just said before I answer the question, because I honestly didn't even know that was a question of the topic today. I just wanted to come on to
All good.
I think that corporate world excuse is just an excuse, because look how both Bella and Sade have their hair now. That is professional. You can wear your natural hair in a professional way. I think what a lot of these people are trying to say is like, oh, when your hair is unkept, or when you have it in a big afro, then it's distracting. And let's call a spade a spade. And anytime Sade come on my channel and she has her afro out, I don't hear anything she says. I'm just looking at her hair because it's so pretty. So of course, it's not to say like, oh, corporate probably hate or hair or anything like that. It might probably a distraction. You can probably braid it down like how Sade have it now, or do like how Bella pinned up her hair. But to answer the question, if banning wigs will change anything, there's a saying that I really like. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So banning wigs is going to be convincing Black women to stop, to be better. And that's against their will, because if they had their will, they would have been wearing the wigs. I think the best thing we can do is, people who want to see better in our community, women, we start wearing our natural hair. We start, having these conversations, teaching young girls how to take care of their hair. Men, you see a girl with a hair helmet, don't even look in her direction. Like, don't even pay her any mind if her hair, that's not her hair on her head, and just keep it moving. And I think once we set the standard, then we'll start seeing positive change. We don't have to worry about the hooligans and the hyenas and trying to change their minds.
I'm going to respond, Sade, and I'm going to go ahead and go.
Yep.
So firstly, thank you for having me. Hello, panel. Hello, everyone. So to answer your question, I actually agree with Chantel. Basically, if they are banned, it will basically force women to figure out how to do their hair and to seek out help. And then to what Anna said with KS, rest in peace. He was, exactly, Coach Keith. He was referring to the corporate look. Also,
absolutely.
Kevin Samuels was an advocate for natural hair. Now, ladies, let's be real, because we love to move the goalposts, and we really have to get better with that, because it will make us easier partners to men. There's a difference between wearing a bonnet, wearing your hair not like you're just crazy as if you got out the bed, and you doing your natural hair and having a style. Kevin Samuels was referring to your hair being unkept. Okay. I understand that natural hair can be done in various ways, and there are sisters who do a wash and go and just let their hair do their thing. And to me, that is a style. But it's about if you're wearing a bonnet, and if your hair is just like should have been redone 4 weeks ago. So let's not misunderstand you being lazy with people's perception of unprofessionalism. And that is all I do.
No, I hear you. Thank you so much, Bella, for hanging out. This has been great. It's been so good to have you guys. Another beautiful, lovely, natural sister in the building, just dropping facts. And she has some good stuff to say, y'all. So please go check out her channel.
Damn.
And no, I know she has to head out. She has to head out. It's fine. I'm thinking I'm going to wrap things up too because I'm very hungry. We've been on for
I gotta cook today.
But what'd you say?
Yeah, I got literally cooking a little bit myself because I'm hungry as well.
So I literally I worked out, then I went straight here. Usually I work out and then eat, and then I didn't have time. So
understood.
But yeah, so this has been a great conversation. I will probably continue this conversation and maybe do some more lives because Chantel, you shared some really good stuff and have given me some ideas. So stay tuned. And I don't know if any of you guys have any final thoughts, last things you want to say before I wrap this up.
YouTube channel, The Nerd Chronicles, one word. You guys can come visit me there if you like. I actually posted it down up in the chat. If you guys want to choose to post it, you're welcome to do so. Basically talks more about like analog perspective as well as some crazy entertainment topics that's like up on my curiosity of things, if you will. Especially this one, I am actually doing some research with like some blowout brushes. Basically what's like the hot trend, basically up in the weeks to come. So that both you and Chantel will basically emulate and be like have your hair mom moment whenever you choose to do it. And I know Chantel is probably gonna get herself ready because I know she's a little bit shy, but
yeah, I gotta get myself mentally prepared for that one.
Exactly. You gotta try and get yourself prepared for the hair mom moment today. So that's what I'm here to bring.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in and hanging out.
Anytime. You guys sit there.
Okay. Chaos Friend, what you got?
What else I could say? You're gonna have to go back to natural. And I kind of like that thing. You have the sub thing on the up right corner. I don't know if that's a thumbnail, but that's pretty nice on top. Yeah, let's say sub. Anyway, one thing if women don't learn now that you gotta love yourself at the end of the day. Yes, you want to still please to the opposite sex and let him accept what you are, but as internet and how men are shifting, moving, and you can see it verbally now, that you might have to slowly adapt if you're not adapting already. Or either if you have what you got, you don't have to worry about this. But if you're still seeking just a decent man, and these are just the smaller requirements just to get the attention, it will be wise to take little points and learn what is ways and strategies. I mean, keep it simple, ladies. I may not ask you to be, too much, but things like that, like keep it natural as possible. If your attitude is simple, man, we'll deal with you. Hell, we deal with less and much, and we tolerate a lot of things, but after a while, a lot of dudes, they're just at a point they're just not going to deal with it. So the only thing you can do is try to adapt and try to snag one of these dudes in some requirements. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You have a good one. Chantel, what you got?
I'm just so excited to start this journey, and I think that's just the alignment that you're going to talk about this some more on your channel. And I decided that 2023 I'm gonna be rocking my natural hair. I think that's just perfect. So I'll be looking forward. You already know I have been in your back asking you.
Yeah, girl, hit me up anytime. Seriously, any questions? Because I get it. So I'm assuming we have a different hair texture, but any way I can help or any resource I can provide, I'm happy to. So
I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward for this series on your channel. So keep up the great work. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in.
No problem.
All right, guys. So this was a fun, very fun conversation. Lovely, lovely panel. Love talking to Bella. She's such a lovely woman. I don't know how else to put it. But thank you guys for hanging out. We will definitely do more of these kinds of discussions and topics because I think it is needed. Before anything can change, there has to first be a level of acceptance and understanding what's going on. And I know hair is such a touchy subject, especially in the Black community, especially among Black women. And it's because there is a history behind it. It's not like we're making stuff up. There is a real history and a real reason that a lot of Black women have emotions associated with it. And so I want to be sensitive to that. And again, that's why I wanted to bring on women who had a different hair texture, arguably a kinkier hair texture, who's gone natural, who did weaves, did wigs, and could offer a different perspective, because I think it is important that we hear out different women and what they're going through. And at the same time, unpack the way the really dark history in America has negatively impacted the way that we as women of color, we as Black women see ourselves and the way that we choose to do our hair and what that means. So all really good stuff. Also, I want to highlight, I think Hakeem, you mentioned something earlier about the importance of, Black men building, and the importance of, getting together with Black men and working with Black men who are building, building different structures or doing different things to where they can also control the messaging and show the kinds of things that they like. This is why I think it is important to support people who are doing what you like, support men who are silently building behind closed doors, to encourage them, to not minimize them, but to lift them up, because ultimately at the end of the day, that's what I think women are wanting. In a Western society, if your ethnicity, if your race, if it's not Western, then you're always going to be, to a certain extent, you're always going to be compared to that. You're always going to be compared to a white beauty standard. You're always going to be compared to that standard, because that is the standard. And I think it's important to understand that, and understand that that tension is always going to exist as long as you're in the scenario. But there is an opportunity to do something different. There is an opportunity to build your own. There's an opportunity for you to learn about yourself, and to learn not only, history wise about yourself, understand your own hair, understand your own culture, like different things you can do to build your own self-esteem, so that even if you go out in this world and you see a particular standard, you're happy with your own standard, or you're working together with men who are building things where you're going to see yourself reflected back to you in a positive way. So I mentioned before, media has never been on the side of Black folks. Never. Media is about making money off of Black dysfunction, if you go back to the minstrel shows, but it has never been about lifting up. Never. And even when it seems like it is about lifting up Black folks or whatever, there's going to be a subliminal message. That's just the way this nation works. So understanding all those things, understanding the different pressures, and also recognizing there is a way to do better. You can absolutely love yourself. You can absolutely love what God gave you. What God gave you was not a mistake. And it's about just going through this journey of addressing some of the different self-hatred that has been pushed upon us, and then also finding ways to love what we have and then tend to it. So all been good stuff. Thank you guys for hanging out. As always, hit the like button, subscribe button, share if you found this helpful, and stay tuned for other conversations we'll have. And yeah, guys, we'll talk later. Bye.